Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to join us in this press conference of Umkhonto weSizwe, Gauteng Province. We will start by first introducing the members of the panel who are here. I will start with, from my right, it's Comrade Uzandile, who is coming from the Provincial Youth League. We also have Comrade Utemba Spian Ndebele, who is actually a deployee from the National High Command in the Gauteng Province. And on my left, we've got Advocate Dali Mpofu, who is also a deployee from the National High Command in Gauteng. We also have the regional convener of Johannesburg, Comrade Theo Upazuga Dlamini. On his far left, we have Comrade Phuka Mtaung, who is a regional convener of Eguruleni region. So you are all welcome. My name is Bafana Mahlabe, the provincial spokesperson of MKP in Gauteng. Now I'm going to start reading the press statement, after which we shall have a question and answer session. Without any further ado, our statement reads as follows. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the MKP Gauteng press conference, in particular members of the National High Command present here, Provincial Command, Regional Command, and members of the media. Receive revolutionary greetings from our Commander General, His Excellency President Jacob Zuma, on this August occasion of the first anniversary of MKP, which will be celebrated here in Vosloorus Stadium, Eguruleni, Gauteng Province, as a precursor towards the main event to be held on the 15th of December 2024 at Moses Mabhida Stadium, KwaZulu-Natal. On the 16th of December 2023, our Commander General, His Excellency President Jacob Zuma, announced the formation of Umkhonto weSizwe Party, MKP, which immediately impacted positively to the political landscape of South African politics. Since its inception, formation of MKP performed wonders, as it was launched 5 months towards the provincial and national elections of the 29th of May 2024. The people of South Africa gave us a decisive victory, to which we became the third largest party in the National Assembly and currently are the official opposition after the introduction of the scam called Government of National Unity, popularly known as GNU, which is nothing but a grand coalition between ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa and the DA of Ugogo Helen Zille. We became the majority party in KZN with a whopping 45%, and soon that bogus makeshift government in KZN will collapse and the rightful government of MKP, as per the mandate of the people, will emerge to deliver quality life and excellent services, jobs, and economic emancipation. In the Gauteng province, we are the fourth largest party with 8 seats in the provincial legislature and second in the Mpumalanga province, whilst represented in almost all provinces of South Africa. This is nothing but an empirical evidence that the emergence of MKP in the political landscape of South African politics contributed immensely in the bringing down of the ANC from 57% to a mere 40%, which is unprecedented since the dawn of democracy on the 27th of April 1994. The recent trend of high-profile political leaders, members, and ordinary members of society is yet another indication of the growth of MKP, which is growing in leaps and bounds as a formidable revolutionary movement of the left that is centered in Africanism and biased towards the poor and the working class. In conclusion, we invite everyone in the province of Gauteng, in particular Eguruleni region, Johannesburg, Tshwane, Sedibeng, West Rand, and beyond, to come and join us on this historic first anniversary of Umkhonto weSizwe at Vosloorus Stadium, Eguruleni, this Saturday, the 30th of November, 2024 at 10 o'clock. We are saying we'll be following the following hashtags as our main message. Hashtag Uyakula Umkhonto, which is nothing but an indication of a growing revolutionary party. We are saying hashtag Wakenza Mkhonto. This is a point that we are saying thank you to our people in South Africa for having convincingly voted Umkhonto Wesizwe Party as an alternative and a vehicle towards making their lives better. Lastly, we are saying hashtag Dumela 2026, which is another platform where we are saying we'll be continuing to mobilize our people towards a total victory in 2026. I thank you. Can I proceed?
There's load shedding.
There's load shedding.
Let's just check.
Thank you so much. We shall proceed whilst they are sorting out the issue of, I don't know whether it's load shedding or what. So how we're going to proceed, I've introduced the panel and the leadership that is present here from High Command, Province and the region.
Okay, thank you. Yes, look, the reason why we called this media conference was to highlight the first anniversary of MK. So that's the main business of the day. Some of the issues that you are raising have been addressed or will be addressed in the appropriate forums of the organization. But I will touch on them. I'm just highlighting the fact that of why we're here. And it's important to view even those questions that you are raising in their proper perspective. As we heard from the statement, this is a new organization which is 11 months old and is now going for its first anniversary. So we're talking about really a baby in terms of politics, which had to learn fast because the people of South Africa gave it such an overwhelming mandate, something unprecedented. There's no party that entered politics and attained almost 15%. In fact, it doubled the record that was set by COPE in 2009, which got 7%. So that's really the issue. So even these developments that you are raising must be looked at in that context. The introduction of a new player in the South African political landscape has to affect everybody, literally. There's no single political party in this country that is unaffected by the emergence of this new giant organization. And that is why we're celebrating the first anniversary in the kind of spirit that we are. And that is why we have chosen the places where we got the highest votes, or which you might call the strongholds. So in Mpumalanga, as you heard last week, we're going to Mkhondo, in Versbande, where we got more than 50% of the vote. In KZN, we'll be going to Ilembe, where we got a very high number of votes. Here in Gauteng, we're coming to Ekurhuleni, where we received the highest number of votes. And then nationally, we're going to eThekwini, which gave us more than 500,000 votes, which is an unprecedented number. So that's the context. So naturally, when that happens, because politics is a competitive space, so all our competitors have to now adjust to the reality that there's this new baby that has come into the mix. The things that we have emphasized in our constitution are about building unity, progressive unity, and black unity in particular in South Africa and on the continent. And it is also about what we call total liberation, which means political, economic, spatial, knowledge, cultural, you name it, but total liberation. So that's also a new thing that is being introduced in the South African political landscape. So the people who are operating in those spaces obviously will also feel a bit affected. So the Progressive Caucus, to come to your specific question, Junior and Susanna, the Progressive Caucus is the first of those projects. So Parliament is a particular site of struggle, if you like. And therefore, it's much easier because those people, unlike here in the community, you know, it's more difficult to organize people. Those people are already there. There are only 400 of them. And so it was logical that the Progressive Caucus in Parliament should be the starting point. And that is going very well. It's continuing. And we're hoping that from that, the spirit of unity will grow, be taken out into the communities and various other activities. So there's no threat to the Progressive Caucus. Remember that MK is the largest player in the Progressive Caucus in Parliament with 58 MPs. So in a way, MK is being the largest. It has to give direction. And we're hoping that not only to maintain the Progressive Caucus, but to grow it. Because some of the organizations that found themselves on the wrong side of the divide, such as the PAC, the UDM and others, actually belong to this side. You'll remember when the Progressive Caucus was announced on the 14th of June, those organizations were sitting at the table. And so that's the spirit in which the Progressive Caucus will be approached. As far as look, the organization has made itself clear about the polemics or debates with other organizations. Our approach is very simple. Our members, and this is in our constitution, are enjoined by the constitution itself not to respond to any provocation, and in particular not to attack other progressive forces. If other people want to do that, that's fine. That is their decision. It's a free country, but we will not be falling into that trap. You know where we are now here. Those of us who are old enough to have been in this space in the 80s will know that this place we are in here was standing on the blood of people. That this particular area in KZN, thousands and thousands and thousands of our people died for nothing because of so-called political rivalry. So we shall never participate in fomenting that kind of history. And we will never regard any organization, let alone a progressive one, as our enemy. The word enemy is a very strong one. It's used only when you intend to do certain things in politics. There's a difference between opponents and rivals and enemies. So we do not take the position of calling any black person our enemy because they are our fellow oppressed people. The issue of the tensions, I don't think people should exaggerate tensions, as I say. Tensions in politics, as I say, it's a competitive space. You know, we're all competing for the same voter pool, so to speak. So, you know, now and again, there'll be that kind of jostling. As long as we all ensure that we do not escalate that into something else, because that this country cannot afford it. Yeah, that's really all I can say about those questions.
Okay. Maybe what we'll do, Chair, Advocate, let me start opening a discussion on the parallel structures, the advocate will add, or the members of the High Command. Let's appreciate, as the advocate said, that everything is in context. You know, MKP is a new party, and you would have noticed that there was a trending slogan that says "Asibizwa siyazizel," you know. And when people are assembling into a huge organization like this one, and for the first time that is being established and under the political environment that we see, clearly, because we are coming from different background and different organization and all of that, there will be some form of tensions that would ensue during the process of working. But let me assure you, the organization is working on that process very nicely. We introduced the people's mandate, we introduced the temporary structures, and all of those things were done because people were taking initiatives. And sometimes this matter is exaggerated, especially in the media platforms, to say there are tensions that are going to disband the organization or even demobilize the organization. That is not the fact. The truth of the matter is that we are trying to build an organization here, and being at the formative stage, it's inevitable that there will be those tensions, but we are in the process of building. And as and when we introduce these systems, these things, they fade away. And as you can see now, the organization is almost stabilized. You know, we are introducing leadership in every province, and I'm sure Advocate will also touch on that. KZN has already been taken care of in terms of the convener, Willis Mkunu, Mpumalanga, Advocate Mkwebane, and we are in the process of attending to other provinces. But in the meantime, status quo remains. We do have structures that were there, and the leadership said those structures must be there until such time that officially we introduce the leadership. So I'm sure that matter will be dealt with as we proceed. Advocate.
Yes, thank you. I think maybe just to add on what Commander Bafana is saying. Again, I've said this is a new organization. Anybody who has ever been involved in a new political organization will know that it must have teething problems. If it doesn't, then you must know there's something wrong. It must be those, especially if it's a mass-based organization. Unless if it's one of those one-person, one-office organizations. Yeah. Yeah. Here we're talking about a mass organization that has produced more than 2.5 million votes in the space of 5 to 6 months. So you can imagine what that means. Before any structures could be formed properly, just because the message was resonating with our people. Post the elections, two things have happened. One was to make sure that the deployments in Parliament and in the various legislatures are done. That was accomplished. We know that our caucus in Parliament is working very well. In fact, not only did we were thrust into that space, but on our maiden arrival there, we became the official opposition of South Africa. That's not a small thing, to be the official opposition in South Africa. And so that project has gone well. The next project has been what Commander Bafana is talking about, which is to now build the structures on the ground. And you have seen the production of the Constitution, which was a very important step. And then you have seen the deployment of the officials. You've seen the installation of the new Secretary General. There's now the space that was created by that deployment of the national organizer has now been also filled. You know, the National High Command met, was it a week or two ago, Commander? Yeah, we met in Durban over 2 days and looked at all those developments. So that's the perspective. Yes, there are parallel structures. Yes, there'll always be opportunism. But the point I'm making is that the organization is busy going back to the ground to build, to rebuild, and reconcile those structures. And that work is going on wonderfully. Here in Gauteng, where we are deployed, there's a lot of progress that is already being made, as mentioned in Mpumalanga and various other provinces. So going towards next year, we will be stabilizing the organization. By the time we're talking about the second anniversary this time next year, you'll be talking about a completely different picture, a more national picture, even in the provinces where we are currently weak. because of the high command people who are deployed there. Some of the reports we're getting are very positive. So by the time we get to 2026, then the picture will be totally different, and we'll be competing even better than we did this year. Right. Now, the issue of dual membership, again, that issue is misunderstood. You must read the Constitution very carefully. What that clause says is the following. It says, save for very highly exceptional circumstances, dual membership will not be allowed. Now, what are those highly exceptional circumstances? This has been explained before by our Secretary General. The best example is which is happening. Even yesterday I was called about some councillor who wants to move from a party that I won't mention for the sake of peace. Wants to move into MK. And my advice to that person was, no, don't do that. If you're going to move into MK, you must then invoke the clause on dual membership. Why is that so? Because councillors are there by virtue, those who are there, for example, for proportional representation as opposed to direct election, are there by virtue of being deployed by their parties. Okay? So if you leave the party, you lose your membership of that party. So those kinds of people may be allowed, as an example, to have dual membership, so that if they want to retain their former party, some of those people have one-person parties that I've referred to, then they can do that. So that clause was really for those. It's a transitional clause, and that's why we talk about highly exceptional circumstances. But no, we've dealt with the attachment. The issue of the issue you raised about former President Zuma's dual membership, he has explained this many times, that his view is that the real ANC was hijacked by what we call the ANC of Ramaphosa, and that the ANC that he was a member of for 65 years is what he's fighting for, to remain a member of. And as far as he's concerned, he says that Cyril Ramaphosa doesn't have the right or the authority to kick him out of the ANC. And that is the context in which he decided that because there was no longer room for debate within that party, an alternative vehicle had to be formed for our people. But, you know, again, those are issues that are handled by the former president and his foundation. As far as MK is concerned, the issue is the one of the dual membership. The ANC might not allow dual membership, that's why they kicked him out, but we do.
Thank you, Advocate. Maybe, yeah. Maybe let me start with this one of hailing of insults, even though he covered it, the Advocate, before you came in, but just for your interest. MK Party has positioned itself as a revolutionary, disciplined party, and a party that is driven by political content rather than theatrics, you know. So we're not going to go into that space of people provoking the party or even its members for political grandstanding. So our point is that we have postured ourselves as a party that must provide alternative to our people. We are focused on the task of transforming South Africa and making South Africa a better place. So any other thing in that space, we are not coming. Assis.
Yes, I did explain this, Lunga. Look, as far as I'm concerned, well, fortunately, I don't know, I've not seen any insults directed at me, but any insult directed at anyone is the same as one directed at me. Where when I grew up in the struggle, we said an injury to one is an injury to all, So our position is very clear. It's in the constitution. It's not even our. What we're articulating here is in the constitution of the MK party. Now, and that constitution says you will not be attacking other political formations, even under provocation. So, in fact, the more you provoke us, the more quiet we're going to be. That's going to be the order of the day. The judge is not us. The judge is the people of South Africa. When the people of South Africa go to the polls, they will decide whether they want to deal with those who are insulting or those who are insulted, as it were. Yeah. And you know, and that position, by the way, is not a position that is taken out of cowardice. Must make that very clear. It's not a position that is taken out of cowardice. It is a position that is taken out of political maturity. For 400 years, our people were defeated because they were divided. The enemy, since they arrived there in 1652, knew that the way to deal with the people of this country is to divide them. And for the past 400 years, that they've been doing that in various forms, either by fighting us in so-called tribal formations, up to more recently when they formed homelands, and the so-called black-on-black violence that I spoke about of the 80s. All those were forms of dividing our people to ensure our perpetual oppression. So we're not going to do that. It's hashtag Andizi, or MK says hashtag Andizi, to repeating the same mistakes of the past centuries. And as I say, those of us who witnessed some of these things, can remember right here where we are, where people were being butchered and killed. There are children, if you walk around here, who have no parents because of that. So we're not going to, we're not available for insults. We're available to be insulted, but not to dish out insults. All right. Now, I think I've covered you, Luvena. Or the JSC. Yes. Yeah. No, there's no issue on the JSC. Again, I think the National High Command will pronounce itself on this question around when the court cases are taking place. But as far as I know, the last statement was that the person, if the issue is reopened, I think the organization will probably field the same candidate that they fielded before. The smaller parties. The case yesterday? Yes. Yeah. No, of course. I mean, the position of MK on the Phala issue is very well known. You can find that directly from the statement that was issued by former President Zuma on the 16th of December 2023 at the launching of the party. That one of the issues he raised was the discrepancy in the treatment of that case as compared to other cases. So to that extent, we are hoping, but you never know. You are asking me to speculate on the outcome. Well, in this country, I think if you speculate about court outcomes, you can lose a lot of money. What about the smaller parties?
Yeah, there's still prospects of.
Oh yes, the so-called merger. No, you know what? I don't want to use this platform now for this. Maybe I can talk to you some other time, because that's something directed at me. This nonsense that I said that parties must collapse into MK is a lie. It did not happen. It's just something that never happened. Yeah. But as I say, we'll deal with. It's fine. It's once again, it's one of these issues where we don't need to respond, but we'll respond in due course. Unity and merging are two different things. The mere fact that we're saying we want to unify parties means that people are free to stay in their parties. If you want to stay in the PAC message resonates better with you, that's fine. If it's AZAPO, if it's the ANC, whoever who can be regarded as a progressive party. And that's why we talk about a unified platform. And that's why I made the example, for example, in the continent now you can see that trend is happening. In Botswana, there was a grouping of parties that won the elections. In Mauritius, the same thing has happened. In other parts of the continent, that approach is being taken. And here, even without there being a formal arrangement, the so-called ruling party was ousted from its position. So that's the context in which we talk about unity. It's not an instant coffee that you're just going to do it and tomorrow you have unity. If in the end we all merge under one organization in 10 or 20 years or 30 years time or whatever, so be it. But we are not going to be party to dividing our people.
I'll take the last hands if they're still there. Last round before we conclude. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, my name is Mpofu from the Daily Method. We are sitting in a case between against by 5 men against 1 woman. I suppose my question is, why is there such a limited representation of women in the MK structures? And I suppose the phenomenon is common within the National High Command as well, which we see over time with 1 or 2 women. And I mean, is the MK actively having conversations around fixing this phenomenon, or policies rather, because it is quite problematic? Thank you.
Any other question? That's the last one. Over to you, Advocate.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, well, actually, sorry, my note here was to give a few apologies. One of them from the convener of our National High Command deployees, by the way, is Commander Cindy Tim. She unfortunately, and she had confirmed that she was going to be here, but due to some logistical problems at the last minute, she couldn't make it here. So she would have been the one who's answering most of these questions here. But be that as it may, that's just about today. The question you are asking is more broadly about principle. Yeah. Look, the MK has pronounced itself on this as far as at a policy level. If you look at our constitution, you'll see that it says, bearing in mind the realities of the patriarchal society where we come from, where political leaders really, in almost all the parties, they are male dominated. But that's something that needs to be actively countered against. So our constitution says that we are going to strive to have 40% of female representation in our structures. And it also says that there is an effort to make sure that within 5 years, I can't remember the clause, within 5 years that number should go up to 50%. So that's at the policy level, as you are asking here. So that's something that is going to be attended to very actively. There's no political party that can prosper or address the inequalities in this country without addressing gender inequality. That's what we mean by total liberation. Total liberation means every sphere, whether it's about youth, women, whether it's about people with disabilities, total liberation as in total. And you can never have total liberation without liberating women. And that is why even in the infancy of this organization, the Women's League has already is being established in true earnest. So thank you for that question.
And also just to add on what the advocate has said, in our structure of the National High Command deployees in this province, it's 50-50. There's 2 females, very strong females, and there's 2 of us who are supporting those strong females. So we're 4, so it's intact. And also in our regional structures and sub-regional structures, we do have a lot of female representation. So we are trying really very hard to address that matter. Thank you for the question.
Let me thank the members of the National High Command, the province and the regions, and also members of the media. Thank you very much. This press conference is adjourned. Thank you.